All right, welcome back. I don't know if some of y'all caught it, but in a previous video, when I was editing that video, I actually realized that I made a mistake on this hydraulic tank. Now, we're still going to keep the hydraulic tank in its location, but I did not think about feet room. I was, for some reason, thinking when I was building this, that your feet literally just go right here in front of the instrument panel, and clearly that's not it. When I was watching the video of me pulling this unit inside, I realized that because this thing is small, your feet actually go over here where the hydraulic tank currently is. So we need to be able to put our foot underneath there comfortably, meaning this tank has got to go up some. Not a huge problem, but now we need to come up with a solution for that issue. When you're modifying things and building stuff like this, sometimes it takes a couple tries. You always don't get it right. We don't have some fancy engineering computer or engineering degrees where we can mock everything up and tell us on a computer if it'll work or not. So trying it in real life with a boot that we have sitting around here at the shop will tell you that your feet can't go in front of there. Your feet also is not going to go at an angle in there. That's just not going to work. So your feet does need to be over here. The best part about modifying these units is literally getting to work on them. I enjoy working on stuff more than I enjoy using the stuff. Right now I'm just trying to set my height roughly, and I don't want this thing wider than the tracks. So if you're going through a gate or somewhere, I don't want it any wider than the track. So the tracks are out a little bit past the 2x4, and that's out a little bit past the 2x4. Just roughing it in. This moves it out just a touch, which also gives us way better clearance than yesterday on our fittings. Now we still need that stuff cut out on the bottom because hoses are still going to have to dive straight down, but we are going to have to modify something possibly with the foot area because I don't want mud and dirt off of your shoes just filling up in the bottom of the machine either. This is definitely not what I prefer to make templates out of, but we're out of our element. We're not at the house where we have poster board, so we're gonna have to make do. We're gonna need to add a little bit for the bar. This stuff is so flimsy. This is just masking paper to paint cars with. You ever drop your tape measure in hydraulic fluid? If not, I just did. Good God. Look at that. That's probably now the smoothest tape measure I've ever had. Goodness gracious, dude. All right, so basically this is what the top of our bracket looks like. So these are gonna be the new bolt holes to go into your tank. All right, hold that down. This is gonna be the new hole for the cap. And then this is gonna be where you're gonna weld it to that bar. So if you need to take the tank off, plan here is you're just gonna unbolt these right here. And then we'll have our brackets on the bottom that's removable, and then your tank will come out. All right, let's fire this plasma table up. Okay, I've got our bracket loaded in here. Now the only bad thing, it looks like our starting point is gonna be up here, which I don't really like, but test fit our piece just to see if we even got holes right. And somehow we do. Barely. That is what our top looks like, and like I said, we will move the filler neck over here to this plate. It's gonna be a lot cleaner. It's gonna look like it was actually designed for this piece of equipment. Not exactly perfect along here. Finding the orientation of everything is kind of hard, but not bad. Honestly, not bad at all. And I really like that. Just got to get it level and pull the blocks out of it and tilt it down. I'm gonna cover up the hole where the hydraulic fluid's at. We ain't trying to catch on fire. And now we just need to level out this other side. It's pretty solid. Okay, so now we got to address the bottom. Let's check our boot. I think we're fine. Yeah, so your foot's gonna be fine. I mean, you'll be able to get literally like all the way up here on it. Let me jump up in the seat though and just take a feel for it. Oh yeah, absolutely perfect. I mean, yeah, my foot has to be like way far forward, more than natural, in order to hit your shin on that tank. So that's gonna be perfect. All right, so now the decision has to be made. Do I want to do a weld on kit or a bolt on? Being you're gonna 100% have to weld on that top, I think we're gonna do the weld on also on the bottom. Basically, I'm thinking the easiest, strongest way is gonna be to do a curved bracket that welds to this bar like this, and then it transfers over to flat plate along the bottom of that. I think that's going to be the best all around. My only other option is a bolt kit that bolts onto here and bolts onto there, and everything's 100% bolted, but then you have no strength at the top. So you have the strength in the two bottoms, but it's not going to be as strong as if you weld a triangular gusset the whole entire length of this up and down off of that. That's definitely going to be way stronger. All right, this is what your plate for the bottom of the tank is going to look like. Pretty simple, and then we're going to put a rectangular brace underneath that. All right, so we're mapping out our side plates. This is what the side plates look like. I had done another design with a little tractor, and it said little digger in it. And I just decided that this was more universal with the Spiderweb. And I was having a hard time. If you know about anything about designing, with plasma stuff is you can't do stuff that's going to fall through the sheet metal, if that makes sense. So we went with this design. I think this design will look best. I'm gonna go ahead and try to cut this. This is going to take a minute to cut. This is a lot of cuts. Now on this piece of metal, being it's such a long cut, and this is actually thinner, 1/8 inch, I decided to do this method where I actually kind of keep the metal wet. So I'm using just a water hose, keeping it wet as we do the plasma cutting, and that cut way down on the warping and left the metal cooler overall and just easier to work with. All right, so these are the simple little hose clamp spacers that I was talking about, I think previously, that we're adding. So it literally will just go and attach off your line like that, and it gets rid of this ugly zip tie that they put on. I'll try to leave the link to the ones I bought in the description below, so you can purchase you some, but if the link no longer works, you just search literally for these keywords right here, and you should be able to find them on Amazon or eBay. All right, so we're putting our fittings on. I figure I'll just go over these real fast. Remember where we had to join these two lines together? So you got to go from a swivel to a swivel on this, the T. This is going to be your pilot controls and all that. We went over that in a previous video. If you haven't watched it, please go back and watch it. This is going to be that union right there. Okay, $1.74. That's going to be that union. Next, let's see here. I think it's going to be this, the reducer bushing. Let's see, I think we only have... Yeah, so the reducer bushings are going to be the ones for, I only ordered one. The filter housing, all right, it's going to go up in here like that. I only ordered one, I think, right now, because that's all I know for sure of where it goes. So that reducer bushing was only $310. We need to order another one of this. Let me get a pen and start writing on these, what these are also. These right here, part number and everything, two of these are the ones that are more expensive. We spent $50 on just these two adapters. They're $25 each. If I would have known this, I would have maybe shopped a little bit more on the oil cooler part. So if you want to shop around a little bit more, because the cost of the cooler, you're going to add 50 in adapters just to get it to NPT. So these are adapters that we're using to go into that to get it from the G half threads to, let's see here, NPT 1/2 inch threads is what this is on this side. They screw into the top. This one we messed up on, so we're going to return this one. I think I got the measurements backwards. This little one right here is going to change the T that's up front to a JIC, so you can get a normal JIC hose. Even though now I know we don't really even need it, so maybe we should just return that one also and not put a JIC fitting on it. But if you want a JIC fitting, that would be there. I think I actually might take that back because my local place can do the Chinese hoses. The cost of these hydraulic lines, so moving this tank so far, I'm up to under $500. I'm like $450 to $500. I got to take some stuff back. The smoke hasn't cleared yet on fittings. So it's costing me to move the stuff. Now, is it going to perform better? Absolutely. It's absolutely hands down to have the tank out of the engine bay. Gas tank ain't going to cost you nothing to move but the brackets. But I like the viewer watching this video, I like to be able to deliver you solutions that save you money. And I'm definitely kind of failing on that because I'm delivering solutions, I feel like, but then it's costing so much to get custom lines made. But going back, if I do another one, I think what I would like to do is keep the tank here, but basically cut this corner out to open up airflow, box it in against the engine like this, box a corner in, and cut custom plates like spiderweb plates or whatever to open this up so it can breathe. Basically build a wall, a firewall, a heat wall between the tank and the engine, because that's all you need to stop the heat really, so that the wall, you know, gets heat soaked, but the tank doesn't get heat soaked. And then you can still use your same lines. We'd have little cutouts where the same exact lines went in. We'd have to figure out a way to be able to service and get lines, all that, but, you know, just brainstorming here. But I think that would be more cost efficient because then you won't have to spend all this money on these big lines. Now, I'm still winning. If you followed along, I was at $3,100 on a unit. This unit, same exact shape, untouched, is $6,600 retail. So I'm still winning. Even if we throw $1,000 in this, I'm at 41. Retail is 66, and my 41 is bulletproof. bulletproofed, quote unquote, and completely fixed. So you're still winning, but I would still like to be able to deliver solutions at a cheaper cost, if that makes sense. So on my paperwork, what's burning up the cost from this R&D, because this is what this is, research and development. I'm doing the research and development on what it costs to move it. These prices and stuff, two of these little fittings and odds and ends, 36, 16, they're not bad. Okay, $13, $3, $93, $64, $136. These are hose assemblies. Okay, the only hoses that we got right now is we got our little one right here assembled. So that's going to be all the fittings, the line, and everything. We got this little short one right here, this little tiny one, okay, with all of its correct fittings and everything. That was together. And then we got this long one. So the long one's probably going to be the more expensive. That's going to be probably the $130-some line, which is actually wrong. I messed up on the length, which sucks because I know that means when I go back, I got to spend another $130-some. But the little short one, like even that little tiny short one, I don't know which one it is, but I'm going to assume it's $64. So this line is 6.5 inches center to end, pretty much 7 inches, I think it was. So for this little one with all the fittings crimped on, this 90 up here, like all these pieces, it's $64 for that one line. I've price shopped all these fittings on eBay and stuff, and it's definitely not cheap. I'm curious of what I could have saved myself by having somebody on eBay make the hoses, even if they were like a Chinese company. But the problem is I'm kind of figuring this out as I go. So if I have to deal with somebody off eBay, then I have to wait for the stuff to come in. And then if I make mistakes, I got to change it. These fittings, we're actually getting rid of them out of the cooler. So there's one less connection, by making custom hoses. And so that's going to be $50 back in my pocket. But making the lines is definitely what's eat up this project. And that's what I was saying is if we could go back, if I knew that this line was going to be that much, if I knew I was going to have that much in lines, if I could have priced this out ahead of time, I would have left the tank there and I would have figured out a better solution of cooling the tank versus building lines to relocate it, basically. Because I just kind of moved the tank wherever I wanted it at with a blank check mindset, on the lines. And the next one I do, we're definitely going to try to keep it so we don't have to make new lines. All right, so first thing that we've adapted from the British thread size. Pretty sure this is going, I can't even remember. I really don't even want to give y'all the sizes because I'm going to mislead somebody. It's going to cost somebody money. But this is a British thread that's inside the pump. And then it went to the M27 is what it used to go to. So now it's the British thread that's in the pump to, I cannot remember what size the machine shop did on this one, but that's a JIC. I'm pretty sure just a standard JIC end. Both of these are actually the same now. So this is what we've transitioned it to a 90. I'm pretty sure that's just a standard JIC is what we ended up transferring it over to. All right, so that I just don't want to mislead anybody and cost anybody money. I highly advise you how complicated this stuff is to take your connections to your local hydraulic rebuilder supply and put it on the actual desk and let them figure out exactly what you need, or research how to measure fittings and find out exactly what you need, because some of these machines have different fittings. So that we've changed that one. That line is going to run into our bottom here. Now, my local supplier cannot get the size M27. So all of these lines, they're going to come off of your machine. Okay, this is 5/8. This DIN 16. This is going to be an M27 end. They can't get that. Okay, so this is what we had screwed into our tanks when you bought these new. My supplier can't get them. Not saying it's not out there, but my supplier can't get them. So what we're doing is we're going to weld on these. All right, so these are just weld on bungs on the end. I'm going to take this tank back off for the final changes. And unfortunately, I'm going to weld on this tank like I didn't want to do. So I'm going to weld these on. This changes this now, I think, over to, I don't even like to say this stuff because it's probably wrong. It's got an O-ring on there. I think this is just going to be JIC O-ringed, boss. I think. I could be wrong, but we're going to weld that over. That's going to give us our 90s. So it looks like this. Let's take this cap off, and then it's going to come out and go straight down. This is going to be your standard JIC, and I'm 99% sure. But again, figure out your own fittings, because man, I've just been all over the place. So it's going to come out like that. That's what it's going to look like. All right, and then that's going to connect both of these. We're going to change this one here in a minute, this one. That's going to connect to our ends right there. So them lines are done. All right, this is going to be your J or G half thread to, I'm pretty sure we also changed this over to a standard JIC. And then that line's a return, so it's going to come out and go up and into our tank. So if it was more up here, it would have been a shorter run, saving me a couple bucks. But then you would have had the problem of the cooler being trapped in there. We would have had to cut the side out. I would have had to plasma cut a breather, kind of like this plate, so the air can get in there. And then if I sold it to you guys, then you'd be paying me for a plate. So either way, you're either going to pay for a plate or design a plate or cut holes in the side of your machine, or you're going to pay for lines. So either way, just playing with this stuff and modifying it is just not cheap. I like finding cheap ways around stuff, but there's not a lot of cheap ways around playing with this hydraulic stuff at all. Our L8 hose was the easiest. It was just this little one, super simple 90. They could make that right there on the spot. And it tied all into there. We went over how we did that. And that's it. That's our lines. But again, this past receipt was another $178, I think it was. I got refunded. What did I just spend? $172. And then I got refunded back the $49.21. So I'm going to add up what we're in this when we're done with this project. But you can see these bills are stacking up. $389 on that receipt. Total on this one was $94. So these have definitely stacked up playing with this thing. All right, so I have let this drain upside down overnight. I have brake parts cleaned it, and then I power washed the piss out of it, because hydraulic fluid is combustible and brake parts cleaner is combustible. So you really want to wash it out with water, flush it out. When we're done welding, we're going to power wash it all out again, brake parts clean it, and then blow dry it out to get the moisture out of it, because we don't want to leave the moisture in the hydraulic system. So we're going to cut this off and weld this on there. And then same thing, we're going to try to get that thing cut off and weld this one on there. Thankfully, these are a little tiny bit bigger than what's there, so shouldn't have a problem. All right, when you're doing these, you want to keep grinding until you get to the actual circle that was originally cut. So that means you're probably going to have something that looks like this that was on top, okay? If you don't get rid of that, then all you're doing is choking down your size. So you can see how big our inlet is. If we were to leave that in there, all you're doing is putting a restriction in line. So you want to make sure you grind it until you get to the actual pipe itself. And then you want to clean up around it. Same thing up top. Grind it until you get rid of any of the old stuff. Basically, the part that they put on here, it was smaller than the hole itself. So it was a restriction. So we're eliminating that. The same thing, the return don't really matter, but the flow. So now we're way bigger, okay, than what's original. So now ours is closer to the bigger, and it's even going to look better because we're going to have this nice shoulder to weld on. So you can see right here, look at that. See, that's a nice machine part that we're going to have a shoulder. We'll be able to get this thing pretty square on there however we can. Yeah, probably about like that. And then put some tacks around it and weld that thing up. And then the same thing with this one up here. Okay, ours is bigger than the actual hole that's cut in the tank. Now you can grind open the hole if you want, but I'm not really worried about it. It's just a return up there, and our feed looks absolutely perfect. Our tube is actually a little bit bigger than our part, but our part's definitely not a restriction flowing to the pump. So that goes to the pump, that returns back. All right, so on the front of this tank, we're taking the time to go ahead and get rid of this seam. We're prepping it for paint because I'm gonna go ahead and paint it, being we welded on it. And we're smoothing out all the paint like that with the DA sander with 180 grit. But that seam right there just looks like crap on the front. So we're gonna go ahead and take the flat wheel and get rid of it and smooth it out. And it's gonna look a whole lot better after some glossy black paint. This is now moved up front where it's a focal point. So I want it to be nice and clean. All right, while we let our paint in here dry, let me show you how this thing turned out. It turned out absolutely amazing for what it is. All right, so that turned out pretty freaking good. We're gonna start assembling some of this stuff. Now our brackets also turned out good that we cut. Our Spiderweb brackets that go on the side, we got to get everything installed before we put these on. Our brackets for our coolers and everything, we're gonna go ahead and do all of them. This would be our hydraulic tank bracket that goes up there on the tube, and then our filter bracket that hangs our filter head off the side internally. All that stuff turned out amazing. This I just brushed out. I didn't smooth it and spray it with a paint gun, so you can slightly see drag marks, but it's just really heavy brushing out. I wish it was slicker, but maybe I'll put some grip tape or something across the top. I don't know yet. That same thing, you can see where the paint stops. I decided not to just take off the whole top and paint it right now. I still might do it because we got to relocate the gas tank to the back. But for right now, I want to start putting some of this off of this table onto this freaking machine and getting some stuff actually done. Putting thread sealant on all of the stuff that requires it. Make sure you do that. You don't want leaks. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Still got to do the freaking exhaust with the silicone spray. And I thought about it. I said, maybe I should have painted that black so it'll blend in. Definitely could have, but I think it'll be all right. Kind of draws attention that warning, you know, don't stab a branch through it. I think it'd be all right. Probably also should have switched out the plug to a Deutsch connector like we use when building race cars and stuff, but yeah, I just left it like that. Maybe if we need to switch it out, it's just some Phillips screws. We can take the fan back out when it's time to wire it. Went ahead and put our lines on. This line goes on first for me, and this one goes ahead and on. These have O-rings. I don't think they need pipe sealant liquid thread, but I went ahead and put it on there just a tiny bit because I don't want to redo it. So I think with the O-ring in that, definitely should have no leaks. That little sucker right there is hard to get. That's a long reach. I had to use a magnet. I had to basically put the bolt on the magnet, slip the magnet through there so I could get the bolt up. It is nice to not have this cover on to be able to do this, because you can work from the outside. You don't have to work you can work from the inside and outside. So you can have your hand in there like this and then you'll be working from the outside. But it's doable. All three of them are on. That one's on, that one's on, and that one's on. Nothing too bad. Let's go ahead and mount the filter housing. All right, I had to loosen it back up. To get my hose hooked up, I have to have everything kind of loose. So I have to have the top bracket, or it will loose and move around, or it is loose and will move around. And I have to have the bottom cooler where it is loose and it will move around. That way this stuff will tilt, and that way I can start threading this onto here. Once I get this going onto here, where it's threading on and not cross threading, then I can line it all up. As you can see, it needs to go like that way. That way it goes on straight, and then you can tighten all the bolts down. All right, so we got most everything hooked up. We're having to build a custom adapter to go from 3/4 MPT to the metric M27 1.5. Both of them are MELs. So MEL pipe thread, MEL metric thread. They don't have it local. A quick search online didn't show up, and I have the two MEL things. So I dropped it off with Mike last night and decided that we would just cut two in half that I already have, two adapters in half and weld them together to make our own adapter. So that's the only line that we don't have hooked up besides to our tanks. I've got everything else hooked up. I'm going to go ahead and set my plates on here, or try to, if I can do it without damaging the paint too much, and mark where we're going to be drilling at. And we're going to just put these on with nut certs, I think. If you want to through bolt yours or whatever, you can do that. But I like the nut certs. Okay, so get it where the edges are nice. On these plates, I have them where the tops are, this paint's really still not 100% dry. Shouldn't really be putting this on, but it's going to get scratched probably. Anyway, I have them where the tops and sides are pretty precise. The bottom hangs down a little bit on this side, so it's not the end of the world. All right. So we want to hold that right there and go ahead and mark all of these circles so we can start drilling them and popping nut certs in. Man, that's going to look amazing. Now on these bottom bolt holes that we're going to drill, they're actually going to go through our cooler bracket. So your cooler bracket definitely needs to be set in place where it's going to live, because you're going to now drill through the machine and through your new bracket. And when you nut cert that, that's going to lock the bracket in with a nut cert. So if you ever have to move that bracket, you're going to have to drill out the nut cert and remove it also. But that bracket should never have to be removed ever again. That turned out absolutely phenomenal. Man, that's my opinion, that's so much better than having the mesh on there. Now, if you wanted to keep the mesh on there, you could simply put the mesh on first. I might even go back and do that. Not 100% sure. I also thought about going back and painting these satin black to help get rid of them. And like I said, still that yellow. If you wanted to paint yours to get rid of that yellow, you could. But I might paint this satin black to get rid of that so it don't pop so much. I think that looks good though. I think it almost looks like it belongs there, and it allows you to literally just zip it off. Now to install that, all we did, and you can see even across the bottom, like I said, my bottom's not 100% perfect. You can satin black that down there and not see it, but all of the tops, these three sides, is what I really wanted to make sure is perfect. But I mean, it's an Excavator. It looks good. We've already doing way more than anybody I know has done. So to put these in, we're just using the nut cert gun from Harbor Freight. So if you go to Harbor Freight, get you a nut cert tool. You can get them on sale a lot of times. And then we're using M6 nut certs, nut rivets, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to be a little tiny 10mm bolt. So I did that because my holes are 0.60, I think, oversized 1/2 inch. I think they are, or 0.40. I can't remember what they are, but you have plenty of room when you put a 10 in here to make sure that everything lines up. So even if your bolt holes off just a little bit, like that one, they will still line up perfect. So my holes in my plate is perfectly spaced out and everything. We did that in Fusion 360, but when you're drilling it, it can move. Now you could just drill your metal if you wanted and thread it and then just put the bolt right in there. I don't like doing that because if threads mess up in the hole, then you got to go to a bigger size bolt. I'd rather just put nut certs in. They're super easy to get out. If, you know, they damage, they're super easy to put in, and I don't have to worry about breaking a tap and die off or anything. Like, to me, this is just the easier way to do it. Man, that green is really bothering me. We're probably definitely going to mark that in satin black, the perimeter, probably. Originally, I was going to cut that out, and you could, if you wanted to, come straight down and cut your body of your machine out. It's not going to hurt to cut that little bit out at all. So whatever you want. Let me know in the comment section so far, what do you think about where we're at? Our hydraulic tank is going in next. The lines are hooked up, so we're going to get that done. We've got to get our gas tank mounted up top. We got to get all the brackets designed for it and mount it up top. And we've got to put the cushioning valve in the swing motor, and we've got to put the resistors in the inline for the digger. I think it's probably going to be at least another week. We still haven't even designed the lower bar. I've just done way more to this than I ever planned on doing. Next one I do, I promise you, is going to be at my freaking house, because I definitely did not plan to be sitting at this shop for this long. I wish that I dragged this thing to the house and finished it up there, but it's just not worth it now. But we're probably, God, I don't know how many hours in it. I'm in my third weekend, I think, here at the shop. And I close on Fridays at 11. So basically third Friday from 12 to 5. Saturdays, solid half day, if not 3/4 of the day. And there's been one Sunday that I pulled almost all day. So I got a lot of hours in R&D and everything else just to get to where we are at. Smash that like button for me as a small thank you. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And moving forward, we still got the floors to do and all that. So definitely stay tuned. Thanks, y'all.